The outdoors has revealed a significant amount of things to us, but the thing I'm most interested in is this World Lotus. The name of this thing sounds pretty grandiose, and that's because it quite literally is. It's this massive flower known as a lotus, a flower you can find in real life by touching grass too, but the World Lotus seems to be the root cause of all the sightings of vines we see in the hotel and in the mines. In one of my other videos, which I spoke about the potential of what could be inside the garden subfloor, I speculated that the vines and some of the other plant life we run into could be sentient, and it seems like I was 100% correct. The light post that the vine has a grip of in the Jeff shop in the mines. It looks very intentional, deliberate. So it's possible that there is a underlying thing that is controlling the natural plant life throughout your exploration of the hotel and the mines. And just as I had assumed, the World Lotus appears to be the catalyst to all the vines and sentient plant life we find in the outdoors. Now, when I hear the name World Lotus, my mind immediately thinks of the World Tree, which in Norse mythology, the World Tree, otherwise known as Yggdrasil, the Tree of Life, is a massive tree that connects the 9 worlds of the cosmos. It's a central symbol in Norse cosmology, representing the structure and interconnectedness of the universe. The Tree of Life is bound to the fate of the world. The tree's very existence supports all creation among its branches, its life energy interwoven into the tapestry of life. Birth, growth, death, and rebirth, everything comes back to the tree. And while it may not be as complex as Yggdrasil, the World Lotus does somewhat behave in a similar manner. The World Lotus's petals fall off and drift in the wind, allowing you to find them all over the garden, with most of them likely being found by the groundskeeper and then being put in these weird places. And as we all know, if you give 8 of the petals to Gramps, presumably the groundskeeper's grandpa, he crafts a lotus flower which can be planted in any floor that enables rebirth, or in layman's terms, revive. But what's different about this rebirth mechanic is that once this lotus flower is planted, on death, you come back to life blooming out of a large lotus flower. And when this flower blooms, it completely breaks apart the room, which reveals tons of vines spreading across the area. And in this phenomenon alone, the fact that it's able to root itself anywhere represents how interconnected the World Lotus is, or anything that really comes from it. And with the observation of its vines being rooted anywhere, and us being able to find it on almost every floor, it's evident that in a way, this World Lotus holds together every floor, exactly like the World Tree. Which begs the question, how powerful is this World Lotus? So with what we now know, the World Lotus is the underlying antagonist of possibly the whole game, being the main antagonist of the outdoors, with it controlling things like the mandrake and bramble to kill us. But its consciousness doesn't seem to extend to other things related to it that are not directly, physically connected to it. And what I mean by this is, the World Lotus calls for the bramble to appear in the final section, and we can assume that they also call for the mandrakes to attack us. But the World Lotus petals that we can find around the subfloor come from the World Lotus, obviously, but Gramps seems to weave them in a manner that makes the lotus friendly instead of hostile. Once something's been separated from the main lotus, it becomes its own separate entity with its own will or behavior. It's kind of mysterious. Maybe the farther something is from the lotus, the less influence the lotus has over things created by it. What's way more intriguing to me though are the particles that float around the World Lotus. You see these lingering triangular shapes around the lotus. Now, we've actually seen this before. These triangular shapes appear when anything related to an architect appears, as we see with the Curious and Guiding Light's rift, as well as around the lotus petals and the red light barrier on the gateway to the rooms. In my head, these are a sort of sigil for the architects, a way to identify if they're around or not, which is kind of insane because then this almost most decidedly means that Curious Light has some sort of influence over the World Lotus. I mean, this floor does belong to Curious, so what else could cause these triangular shapes? But it really is more of a matter of why it's influencing it, and if it is, it would confirm that Curious Light is leaning towards being a more neutral entity, with it not liking or hating us. Because in the back doors, it kind of seemed more lost, but it still kind of wanted to help us. But in this context, it seems to know everything, but is deliberately withholding information from us. And this claim is further proven by the death message from the monument, which Curious Light says,
"Right, I forgot some of those can move. I could have warned you, but I didn't."
Curious Light having an influence, or possibly on a greater scale, controlling the World Lotus, demonstrates that Curious Light is the most powerful architect out of the 3, with this being shown in the Starlight painting, which, if visited with modifiers on, shows Curious Light's symbol being the largest out of Guiding Lights and Red Lights. Curious could be pulling all of the strings, but to obtain what? One thing is certain, there's still a ton we know nothing about. This is pure conjecture, but I'm led to believe that Curious Light has bestowed its power to the groundskeeper, albeit a simple one, which is vision. For one, the porta potties have Curious Light's sigil on the door, which is, nothing crazy, but what actually made me come to this conclusion are the groundskeeper's eyes. One is kind of normal, with a sclera, iris, and presumably a pupil that we just can't see, but his left eye is completely yellow, emitting a yellow light which allows him to see in the dark in the garden. But this little detail might signify that the groundskeeper perhaps has stricken a deal with Curious Light Light and shows that they have a strong connection with each other, working together to achieve a goal. If we go back to the World Lotus, earlier I said that Curious Light may be controlling the World Lotus, but let's say it rather is influencing it to reduce what it's capable of doing, suppressing its power, so to speak. In the hedge maze, there are guillotine traps set up to cut the massive vines off the World Lotus in order to clear the way for your escape. It's heavily implied that Curious Light may have sent the groundskeeper to do this, as if you die to the bramble, Curious Light says,
"It also seems that the groundskeeper has set up traps in the World Lotus roots. It's done well. I'm glad it's proving useful."
which further indicates that it rather didn't send Groundskeeper to specifically set up traps, but rather set him to generally try and deal with the Lotus, with it starting off the sentence with "it seems," which, you know, suggests that it was unexpected for him to do that. Which kind of makes me wonder, what other things has Curious Light made an alliance with, if this is the case? We spoke about the possible alliance of Curious Light and the Groundskeeper working together to achieve something, but what is that something? Well, I have one possible answer. Near the entrance of the mill, there's a crack in the ground, and when I first saw this, I genuinely thought it was like a visual bug or something. That is until Gramps said something about it. He says, "Watch your step on the crack over yonder, Hoss, and don't ask me what it is, cause I ain't got a clue." And this is pretty random because what could even cause a crack in the ground like this that goes on for what seems like a pretty great distance? Interestingly enough, this crack was found in the mines as well. It's unknown if these can appear in multiple rooms in the mines, but the fact that it's there shows that there does seem to be a sort of fracturing going on between the multiple floors. It is not crazy to say that this is the World Lotus is doing. Its roots run deep, and due to its rather invasive and hostile nature, it's breaking everything apart. And this is quite literally what happens when using a Lotus to rebirth in the hotel. It breaks the room apart, leaving pieces of it in the air. And if the World Lotus were to successfully do this on purpose or not, it could cause a fracturing of the world. Everything might look like A1000, empty, desolate, destroyed. And if that's the case, no wonder Curious Light got itself involved. It might be the only thing that's capable of stopping that from happening. And even if it did, what would it look like? A void of nothingness? The environment the game takes place in is full of abnormalities. It seems like it could be in a random part of the world, yet there are spaces with nothing in them in the back doors, sucking air out of the room like it leads to outer space. If you want to listen to me speculate on what this exactly is, check out this video that I'll link in the description. It's a pretty bizarre take on where the game takes place, and even Cheddarballs responded to it in the comments. But anyways, this fracture could be larger than just the Lotus in terms of significance. If it's not the World Lotus causing it, it might be what's inside the castle, and that's just something we'll have to wait for. There's one last little thing I want to talk about, which is Glitch. Glitch is another one of those mysterious things where there's only subtle hints or clues at what exactly it's trying to do, though I was looking through the official wiki and I found that they've added death message lines for Curious Light if you die to the glitched entities in the subfloor. And there's 3, but the message that somewhat reveals a little bit of insight is when Curious Light says,
"It isn't supposed to be here. I'm not sure how it works. I believe it attacks stragglers, if I remember correctly."
And this is kind of interesting because when you die to these things on a main floor, Guiding Light genuinely has no idea what killed you, as if it wasn't even visible to it. But Curious Light knows what it is and might have something in place that's supposed to prevent it from appearing, with it saying, "I'm not sure how I," and then its thought gets cut off by another. Perhaps it's placed some sort of barrier around the area that the player is in, similar to the red light barrier that's supposed to prevent Glitch from reaching the player, but something went wrong and Glitch was able to break in anyway. Which is some pretty interesting stuff. We don't know a lot yet, but we'll have to wait and see what else the Glitch is capable of doing. And that, ladies, gentlemen, and everything in between, is what we can exactly gather from the clues and hints introduced to us in the Great Outdoors update. It's a lot of stuff to think about, and maybe I missed some stuff too, and if I did, any one of you can share with me in the comments. This video mainly covers like main plot stuff because I never really wanted to stray away from the main focus of what's going on inside doors, as if I were to talk about literally everything in this video, it would be way too long. I hope that everyone enjoyed it too, like in all the little editing that I did. It was scripted, edited, and voiced by me, so it was a lot of work, so please consider subscribing if you want to see more videos like this. And one last thing before I forget, I do have a Discord server. If you want to join it, the link will be in the description because we have like 200 members, so if you want to join, be my guest. But that's gonna be it for this one, and as always, stay curious, and I will catch y'all whenever I decide to upload again.